Hi, I'm a 66-year-old white male. I'm a former Baptist minister and very conservative, and I'd like to tell you my experiences with the police. I can't tell you my name because of the cancel culture of today. My wife says she could lose her job, so I can't tell you my name. But do want to tell you my experience. My experience has been uh, fairly good for the most part. Um, when I was younger, my father told me, he said, son, says, if you have a run-in with the police, if you are stopped by the police anywhere, says you keep both hands on the wheel, says you say yes sir and no sir, you do what they say, you be polite, you do whatever they say, and you'll be all right. He says the police have to deal with enough things on a daily basis that don't let them have to worry about you. So I've always tried to do that, and I've always had fairly good experiences with the police. If I get pulled over for a ticket, I've gotten tickets before, but most of the times I don't even get a ticket. They'll let me off because I was nice, and I was polite, and they would let me off. And then there are other times, I remember one trip to Little Rock, Arkansas, that the guy was mad at me, but he still was fairly cordial. I mean, he was mad and wanted this, wanted that, and didn't I know this, and I said yes sir, no sir, and gave him my ID and everything, and he let me off with a warning. So, even when they're rough with me, they generally are fair. So, I've always believed that if you're nice, if you're polite, you cooperate, you do what they say, nothing's going to happen to you. John is a very good friend of mine. He's a Christian, very soft-spoken, very gentle giant, very good man, and I trust him. And I brought him here today to share his experience. John, what has been your experience with the police in your life?
I've had good experiences. I've had some bad experiences. 'Cause I've had more good experiences than bad. Uh, just kind of depends on just depends on the situation, a little bit on the situation. So I think that what makes a big difference. The environment that I'm in, the neighborhoods that I'm in, or what actually am I? How was I interacted? If I run into a policeman at a ball game, it's usually not a bad experience most of the time. I run into a policeman at a Quick Trip or a racetrack or a gas station or something. For the most part, it's usually a more pleasant experience. If I run into a policeman in an all-black neighborhood or an urban neighborhood, visiting friends or family, and if I get pulled over, tends to be more on a negative, um, more negative, and then you have to use your head and think about one, the neighborhood, two, what he might be thinking, and then three, what you're gonna say when he asks you the question and the way you're gonna say it, and I think it makes a big difference.
Um, does any good experience stick out in your mind?
Uh, like I mean, I've got friends that are police officers. So I grew up with them. Interaction. They see me coming to town because I live in Texas now. Uh, maybe sitting at 15, 20 minutes just talking to them, sitting at a gas station, seeing them. I've been speeding, pulled over, and shouldn't have been speeding, and driver's license, registration. Yeah, where were you speeding? I said, well, I'm on an emergency, type of emergency. I said, well, actually, my mom called me home. They don't know if my father's going to make it throughout the night. He said, well, if you don't slow down, you might not make it either. Have a nice day, and I hope things go well with your father. no citation, no disrespect, no get out of the car. More concern and just tell me to slow down. So that's a positive experience. Um, I've been in a car accident before, and police call, and when they come and paramedics and stuff come, I've had general experience where they've been concerned about my safety, my health. You need a paramedic. You need to be checked out. You need to go to the hospital. How you feeling? Then they get off into what happened and what caused the nature of the wreck. And so that to me, there's nothing negative there. They're doing their job, protecting and make sure I'm safe, getting me out of the highway and risking their lives to do so. So, I mean, that's well appreciated, and that's more of positive stuff. I have been stereotyped and just being in wrong neighborhoods, or because I have relatives that stay out in the country, I have relatives that stay in urban areas, I have relatives that stay in high crime areas, and I go visit the ones that stay in the country. I go visit the ones that stay in the urban areas. But I can promise you, when I usually met with law enforcement in those areas, it's a totally different type of conversation.
What do you mean it's a different type of conversation?
It's really aggressive. It's like if you pull off from that neighborhood or you're trying to get on the highway, sometimes it's like they get behind you, they run the tags, they find reasons to pull over the car. Sometimes there are no reasons to pull over the car. Sometimes is it where you coming from, driver's license, registration, and you asking them why they pull you over. You might tell you be quiet. I'll tell you in a second. Shut up. Get out the car. You got any weapons or guns or anything?
You've got one in particular stop that you had that you related to me about. I'd like you to tell that story from beginning to end, just the way it happened.
I got pulled over, and
what did they pull you over for?
I gave a guy a ride. You talking about I gave a guy a ride, and this guy I dropped off. I don't know what he was doing, but I knew him personally, and I got up and I went back to where I actually had seen, because I was actually in my vehicle, and I seen him walking down the street, and he seen me in my car, and he waved at me. I waved at him. Then he started coming over to me and asked me could I give him a ride. So I gave him a ride. I dropped him off, and I went back to sitting in my car talking on the phone. And about 30 minutes later, I leave that address and I make a right, and the police pull me over, and they're just being really aggressive and asking me about where I'm coming from, what I'm doing. And
did they give you a reason for pulling you over?
Nothing at the time. They did not. They just were asking, did I have any weapons? Did I have any gun? Did I have any drugs or anything on me? And the one of the cops were telling me to keep my hands on the steering wheel. The other cop was telling me to get in the glove compartment, because my registration and my insurance in the glove compartment. And while I'm trying to get my driver's license and my registration, the other guy puts a gun to my head. So I just felt like
you were going for your registration and
going for a driver's license and registration, but I was getting mixed orders of what to do. So I tried to go with the original, and what I thought to do was, okay, I'm gonna get my driver's license, I'm gonna get my registration, and he panicked and he put the gun to my head.
You were going for the glove box, maybe?
The glove box to get my driver's license and registration.
But they told you to go for
one of them. The other one did not. The other one kept telling me to put my hands on the steering wheel, and I kind of felt like I was getting mixed directions from two different law enforcement officers. So it was two law enforcement, one on each side of me. And one was not being aggressive, the other one was being overly aggressive.
Okay, and did he just pull a gun and point it at you?
No, he put it to my head.
Show me.
Like he put it to my head.
And did he say anything to you?
Yeah, he told me if I didn't stop trying to grab that driver's license. He was going to don't move.
When growing up, how did your parents teach you how to deal with the police?
With respect, kind of like the way in which I deal with talking to my grandmother, my grandfather, my mom, my dad. Treating them like they're a position of authority, but then just being respectful and listening to what they tell you to do. You know.
So in this bad experience that you had, were you talking politely? You always, to me, you have a very low voice. You have a very calm voice. You don't usually get excited. Were you being that way when the police had stopped you?
Well, I wasn't being aggressive, but I was really confused because I had no idea why they were pulling me over.
What did they finally tell you they pulled you over for?
Well, they told me that they were looking for a guy that had gotten out of my vehicle. That's what they later told me. But I had no idea why they were looking for the guy. I was the only guy in my vehicle, and I felt like, well, if you see me drop the guy off, and he's not in the vehicle because they clearly said they were looking for that guy, then I couldn't understand why they were aggressively going at me.
Right.
So I was shocked, but not ever disrespect or what are you guys doing or nothing like that. I just was more trying to just focus on making the right decision, which was not doing anything that's going to warrant them to want to shoot me or be aggressive or.
But then they got aggressive anyway.
Well, when I say they, one got aggressive, the other one was just firm. One was firm and he was very clear about what he wanted me to do, and the other one was firm about he didn't want me to do it. And so I just didn't know. I know at the end of the day I do need to get my driver's license and registration, and I do need to get my insurance at the time. Back then I didn't have insurance on my phone. I just kept my insurance in the glove compartment with the registration, and so I was just trying to process. But I felt more intimidated with the guy with the gun than I did with the guy just telling me to get the driver's license and registration. Then I was trying to process, well, they're playing good cop and bad cop, and then is this guy really telling me to get the driver's license and registration because he knows this guy's going to shoot me? And so I just really didn't know what to do, but I did. At one time I did take my hands off the steering wheel, and when I done that, I firmly felt the gun on my temple.
Yeah. Is there anything else you want to say?
I really believe that most law enforcement are good people. I believe there are bad apples in a bunch. I think there are a few of those bad apples, unfortunately, that make the rest of the police department in any department you're in makes them look bad. Unfortunately, the ones that are good, law-abiding citizens, if you allow people to mistreat citizens or be too aggressive to citizens, then you open yourself up to when somebody's pulled over and they act over aggressive, you open yourself to be in the middle of that mess. And so I felt like there needs to be just policemen holding bad policemen accountable, and I think that's how we overcome this in the country. But do I think that all policemen are bad? No, I don't. Like I said, I have relatives that are police. I have in-laws that are police. I have friends I went to high school with, white and black, are police, and for the most part, they try to do the right thing. They try to raise their families. They try to be fair but there are law enforcement agencies in this country that have some bad apples, and the good law enforcement know that they're bad apples, and they just don't do enough as far as speaking out about what they see, what they hear, and some of the things that these guys are doing. And so I think in this country, that's what because of technology, cameras, body cams, phones, I think it's actually being exposed a little bit, but it does not mean that all law enforcement is bad. That's what I personally believe.
Yeah, I think the best police reform we can have is other officers stepping up and reporting and getting rid of the bad officers that give them a bad name.
Yeah,
And I know some officers that will do that,
yeah,
and I'm proud of that in this area.
yeah. I do too.